She does that so well.
Yeah, man, all hell's breaking loose over there.
Politics every day or something.
Everybody?
Yep.
Next up is a consent agenda. Again, just a reminder, on the audit presentation, that's gonna be delayed till next month. So we need approval for the consent agenda, please.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as modified.
Go ahead,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, you're in charge.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you.
Are we consenting all the check registers
Yes,
along with that?
yes.
I just had a question. We can
Okay.
hold on. On the Wamego project.
Mhm.
So there's some expenditures in there this month for the build out. And the construction of it's going to the capital outlay cares. And then BB and architect is coming up with the general fund.
Right.
Does it make sense, or can you run the architects through the capital outlay?
We will, later in the semester, we'll readjust the buckets depending upon where the flow is. The money that comes out of CARES HERF is restricted to certain things that they can be eligible for that. Capital outlay, we're going to talk a little bit later in facilities. We have a couple other issues that we have to address through capital outlay. So right now we're paying through some line items where we know the funding is. We're also awaiting some movement. We have some money that's been put in the bank but not put into the budget accounts. That's in process so that we can update the line item accounts and then make more of those budget adjustments.
If your contractor was paying the architect and billing you as part of that contract, does that help things?
It might, I can have that discussion with
That's
them.
a hell of an idea.
Might change the way some of the contracts are written. I don't know if you guys have AIA contracts or what is there, but
The current arrangement has actually worked well to hold down some costs that have been proposed.
Yeah. I didn't know if it helps on
Right,
the free money as opposed to.
right. And that's something, again, Carmela's not with us this evening, but we still have her in the loop. We talked with her last week because again, we have some stuff in the bank that's got to get pulled over into the line items. We have the MOE funds that the legislature passed at the end of last legislative session. It can only be used for buying, delivering, and installing equipment. The HERF CARES Act is restricted again on capital outlay, primarily anything we can justify related to better airflow, those kind of safeguards, which again, pretty broad latitude overall.
Yeah.
Capital outlay itself is unrestricted. The Caterpillar funds and the other funds we've raised for Wamego are unrestricted. So we've been doing that shell game balancing act of what's eligible to come under what. But then it's also going to get a final adjustment before we close out the fiscal year, as we see what other revenue comes in. Kara and Carmela right now are working along with Sarah. We have state funds, the state allocation that's in, tuition and fees coming in, and financial aid. What was the other one? There was a third one. Can't think what it is right now. But yeah, that all has to get moved into the budget itself, into the line items, which we're always monitoring, but that adjustment hasn't happened yet. That will happen over the next probably week to 10 days. So at the February board meeting, we'll give you a more updated analysis of it. Because one of the things, because of the changes we've had on the operations side of the house, we've been keeping an eye on to make sure we're not running out on cash flow or overspending, and we're not. The movement of some of those funds that are in the bank into the budget themselves have been delayed a few days. It's a good question, and it's something we can visit with both the architect and the contractor on. Like I said, so far, the architect's been saving us money on some of the other projected costs.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we don't, put the college in jeopardy with some sort of audit that has happened.
Right.
Makes
Believe me,
sense.
we don't want it either. On a lot of those big bucket items that I was mentioning, the feds on the CARES and HERF monies have some pretty good guidelines. But for instance, Last week, they keep broadening the guidelines and they make it retroactive. So something that wasn't eligible 4 months ago now all of a sudden is. Which is fun. It's a good problem to have. But in doing that, that way we can look at if we paid for something out of the MOE funds or the capital outlay funds that is now eligible under HERF and make that ledger adjustment, and that frees up more money for something else.
That's my
Good question.
My question about the expenditures was kind of regarding the same line item, but a different question, and that was, is the capital outlay funds through the CARES Act funding going to be sufficient to get the project all the way through completion? Or is there
No.
other funding sources that are going to be required to make that happen?
There will be other sources that need to happen and probably a little bit of fundraising. We're not sure. We just got the civil engineering estimate. Was it last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, last week.
And again, our architect, the BBN, in doing a quick analysis of that said, hold off signing off on this. We want to work with you because some of the stuff they proposed is not necessary with what we're doing. So again, the three of us working back with Carmela, our regular capital outlay is about 125,000 a year, and we have to match 50% of that. So about 175,000 in regular capital outlay, no restrictions. We have the 619,000 in maintenance of effort funds from the state. One-time money has to be spent by June 30, only for equipment. Then we have the HERF CARES funds, and that's been a little over $1 million overall with restrictions. Generally, the restrictions are safety related to the pandemic, IT issues related to the pandemic and distance learning, et cetera. And then capital outlay related to how do you improve air, keep people safe, yada, yada, yada. On the HERF CARES money, there's a matching disbursement that's been made to all the colleges. Whatever you get on the institution side, you get a matching amount for the student side that has to go only to students. So again, we've had over $1 million to give out to students. It's a good problem to have. Our enrollment is not huge, and high school students are not eligible to get those grants out of these funds. And 50% of our enrollment are high school students. So the stimulus funds are based on total enrollment, not necessarily looking at that split. So we have more money to hand out to students. So I met with Laura and Neil today to look at, because again, last week the feds all of a sudden expanded. You can also use funds to students under these categories that had not been used before. So one of our discussions today is food an issue for our students? Grocery prices have gone up. We've had a food bank for the last year or more in our TLC. It's some canned stuff, packaged stuff, ramen noodles, of course. But we talked today about, do we need to consider, is there something more progressive we need to do with our students? Do we need to look at, and again, maybe it's working with a community organization or somebody, I don't know. Do we start looking at, can we give them a box once a week that has some box stuff, canned stuff, fruit, whatever, don't know. Do we need to look at some kind of voucher system through one of the local stores? Is it an issue we need to address now that that's opened up even more? We've also today, in talking on that, especially in auto tech and welding, the tool cost, very heavy on the front end, and oftentimes it exceeds what those students can get in financial aid. So can we, that's now been allowed more as a usable cost. Can we look at that and look at ways to, or else to stagger those payments for the students? The kicker for the students to get these funds is they have to apply for federal financial aid. And what Laura said today, about 25% of our students don't apply for federal aid.
Yeah, in some
30%.
capacity, those are eligible or we target as students that should
Yeah,
apply for FAFSA in the range of about 20%.
which again is still a sizable number. So those are all issues in how we look at this use of those funds. But on the capital outlay side, it's capital outlay, maintenance of effort, and then the HERF CARES funds. Based on the initial estimate on renovation on building 3, the kicker right now is looking at connecting the utilities. We have to upgrade water. Well, there's no water to the 3rd building, and then electricity capacity. And that's where I'm looking at asking the city of Wamego to possibly consider helping. They did cut through our lines twice a year ago. If they do some of those things, then between those buckets of funds plus the Caterpillar donation and other funds in the foundation for that, we should be able to complete the building. Good questions. Keep them coming.
I have one other question.
That's good.
Not on the expenditures, but on the next item on, was the Assistant Director of Operations issue expected or unexpected?
Was not expected. No hard feelings. That individual had another opportunity and took it. Anytime we have these kind of personnel changes, we've learned, okay, you take a step back, look at it. Is there a better way to design that unit? We've also had the ongoing issue in replacing Carmella that we've discussed. We used the HR firm we contract with to help find both HR, which is how we got Peter. They've been searching on the Director of Finance CFO area. We hadn't had anything. At the suggestion of the HR consultant, we were getting ready to sign off with a headhunter firm to see if they can help us. At the same time, we've identified someone who might be able to step in on a temporary basis, 30 to 40 hours a week, that has a lot of operations background, and have Carmella help train that person so that we can move forward, because Carmella's been fantastic to keep involved with us, but again, she's removed from this.
Full-time job.
She's got a full-time job. She's got other things. How do we make that transition? At the same time, Kara in the business office, our accountant, if you will, she has stepped up huge in taking care of things. Peter's background with not just HR, but with some things on finance and operation enable us to assign him some of the checks and balances. So right now we're using Peter, Kara, Sarah with Carmella as a final set of eyes, especially on the big ticket items and budget. I anticipate over the next few days solidifying the temporary solution. That buys us time to work with the headhunter firm and a couple other ideas we have on a more permanent solution for that Director of Finance. It is far from ideal. I briefed Elgin a couple of weeks ago, and those of you working in business, you know, right now it's kind of hard to find good people with those kind of skills. We've been careful every step of the way to make sure we're maintaining those compliance steps that we have to maintain. And that's why we haven't moved as quickly on things as we used to in the past because of that issue. I want to make sure I'm not signing off on some of these contractual things, construction things, until I'm sure which bucket's paying for what and that we have it. We think if we can get this next right person in place, we can actually run the operations side of business, finance, and HR with probably 3 people, maybe 4 instead of 5. Because we've also automated over the last couple of years with what Carmella and Kara have both been doing. So that's my explanation for you. None of us are thrilled with it, but we're doing what we have to do to keep going.
None of us are thrilled about it.
So with all those reasons collectively is why you've indicated that the Director of Finance search is paused.
It's paused until about next week, and then it's going to pick up with the headhunter. But again, we've identified someone with 30 plus years experience in business, working with grants, with operations. I would say a sufficient financial background, especially the big picture approach, excellent with software and technology, that I think we can probably use at least on a temporary basis while we do that search.
He's not permanent.
Keep them coming, come on. No, I mean, and I'm serious. This is why we want you on the board.
What's the, do you think the biggest holdup in finding this new CFO is? Is it just pay?
Pay is a big part of it, yes. We can't pay as well.
That's why we changed.
There's also a shortage of available talent out there. one of the things, when I met with senior admin last week, what I threw out to them, and we don't have an answer, but we know this is an issue. We've got to try to figure out, can we put together, doing a program on daycare, on early childcare is not hard to do. Program curriculum's easy. Where would we do it? And at the same time, if we're going to do that, I think we need to do it to make sure we can offer it to our employees first, our students second, because we're going to lose employees over the cost of daycare. And then you add in the pandemic issues with daycare. We've had people out off and on the last 2 to 3 weeks because their daycare had to be closed.
Mhm.
We know it's a huge concern in the communities around us as well as the state. Harry told me the strategic planning group with the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, their top 2 items they voted on, daycare and the Career Academy. So what I'm going to tell you in a little bit as we look at some potential concepts on the college and career center, as we're calling it, is do we also consider how do we blend daycare in with that? The liability issues are out the roof. The money issue, what you have to charge people, what you pay people. And then again, considering the pandemic and the impact on the job market, are you going to even find people that want to work in that? If we set it up like a lab school where we're training people for early childhood education, hopefully partner with K-State, then maybe you can supply your own workers while they go through the education channel. But yeah, background checks, pandemic, sickness issues, yada, yada, yada. But we have got to try to figure it out. Next question, come on.
I'm done now too.
No, I'm serious. We want to make sure you guys know.
I know on the personnel side, it's really hard to find finance people right now.
Yeah,
It just is. And we made some adjustments to the job description to try and entice. We thought one of the recommendations we got from HR partners was that maybe the whole CFO title was a little, might be putting off some individuals because of the level of responsibility that entails when you say you're a chief financial officer. And so that's why we changed it to a director of finance position, hoping to allow somebody to come in that may not necessarily feel like that they have experience to be a CFO, but could build themselves into that position. So we're trying a couple different approaches.
know you said finances are a part of the challenge with that. How are we discussing benefits for that person or any kind of perks to bring them in? Yeah.
I mean, our normal package, and
We have pretty good benefits.
yeah, our benefits are one of our strongest things in recruiting people.
We're more aligned with the wage that we're offering as a director position than we are as a CFO position. So hopefully that will help.
The temporary one that you're, the candidate that you're visiting with, what's holding that one back to being a permanent one?
He doesn't want something permanent. He wants to help he believes in the institution. He wants to help out the institution. And so he will assist us as long as we want his help, but he's semi-retired already. And so he's just not the one to come on and be with us for several years going forward as we grow and everything. So, but he wants to help. So we're going to give him an opportunity. I'm working with John and Allison and Christina at HR Partners on getting an independent contract together for him.
We've had pretty good success here and other places I've been. How do we grow our own? You know, do we, like with Carmela, she was assistant financial aid director. And when we got the right opening on the financial director, I talked to her about me. I didn't guarantee anything, but I could see in her the work ethic, the things that you want. So, you know, Sarah and I both worked at an institution in Illinois that had a policy that if you were hired into a position, you couldn't go to a different position in that institution for a year. And I said, I mean, I get it, but that's the dumbest policy you can have, because if they have talent and you've got a need, make it happen. And that's, we try to look at how do we grow our own in some of these cases. With this director of finance, our goal, you know, we want to get the right person, but also can we get somebody that will do it for the long haul? Other comments or questions? It's good stuff.
Mr. Chair, there is a motion on the table.
There is,
You're done eating.
I didn't change it.
I think Tim, you think
I made the
motion, I
motion.
think we were waiting for a second.
And we went to the
I second,
clarification.
Okay, we'll second. So we're just needing a vote now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now it's your show.
I didn't agree to that. All right, what's next? Come on.
Number 5.
I was scanning and perusing, see?
You get to hear all about our welding program.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so
Blaze is taking over finance too.
No.
No, we'll all say no.
I'm not. We're gonna have a weekend of shenanigans.
okay,
Okay, gentlemen.
all right, you're up.
Wanna go in front?
Floor is yours. Get out front of the board.
How are you guys?
Good.
So I guess some updates, since I don't see you guys very often.
I'm Thomas Bud.
Hello, Thomas.
This is my, what, 4.5 year? Is that right?
Yeah, because you continued last year.
So I guess the growth of the program since I've been here, my first year,
Introduce yourself.
I was going to. I first got here 5 years ago, and we ended up having 7 students in our evening class and 12 in our morning. And now that number is 17 and 15. So we've kind of grew quite a bit, added boosts, and this is going to be 6th year here. So I teach the night program for the night class. He does the mornings. So.
And we've had a girl in both programs or both shifts for the last 3 years.
Yeah, at least one girl.
We're starting to see more of them that are interested actually. So that's-
And where are they going for job placements? All over?
Yeah, I mean, Caterpillar, Landall. A lot of times girls are more better at welding because they're more particular. If you've ever lived with one, I'm sure you know. But they got to stay your hand as well. So
They can do the inspections a lot better too.
yes, they can. Yeah. I'll second that.
What are some projects you guys have been working on?
So like for the community, we have stuff coming by all the time at the shop. We have Wendy's coming by
Yeah,
yesterday.
we had a guy from Wendy's. Student did a project in my class for him today. And it looks like they're gonna be bringing more stuff for students to do in the future, so that's pretty cool. And then-
Has West Loop gotten in touch with you or anybody from
Yeah,
about the
there's a
Salvation
few
Army
changes
basket?
that's been made on the bus stop stations.
Yeah,
And so at the end of the month, they should be wrapped up and sent out so they can stop getting rust all over the concrete.
Salvation Army basket.
Blaze, what do you think the biggest contributing factor has been in the growth? So was it just, we started off low because people didn't know about the program, or are there more jobs available?
There's a lot more jobs available, but I think a lot of it, we go to high schools every Friday. I've been to Manhattan High and Rock Creek, and I go to high school. I'm going to Riley with Chris this Friday. So going there, welding with the students, interacting, sometimes have lunch with them, and I'm a mentor right now for a senior project for Rock Creek. That's going to be a potential student coming up. I kind of go all over. I went down to Oklahoma last year, so I've kind of traveled all along. And
We've updated the program as well over the last few years. When Blaze came on, it had kind of been the same curriculum over and over. And while the concept of Blaze and the foundational knowledge hasn't changed, there's a lot of different aspects of welding that you can do. And so one of the things based on their expertise is it's geared towards more of the pipe welding, which is where we're seeing all the job available. And so I think that has attributed to the growth in the program. And Blaze and Thomas do a lot in regards to recruiting and being out and building relationships with the high schools and spending time with the high schools. We've got more and more of the high schools offering dual credit with welding and everything. And so then they go in and they talk and do some welding and spend time and build that rapport. And so then they're able to come into the program. So we have it, we can potentially do 50 students out of it.
We really appreciate what you guys are doing, getting out there. I mean, these skilled jobs like welding are so important to the nation right now with everything that's going on, and the ability to do that right here in our area and keep those jobs here in the community is really great. So really appreciate it, guys.
some of the past projects we've done in the last couple of years, the Giant Call project. And then last year I had Kiwanis reach out to me, and I thought Nathan and Sarah would strangle me if I took on anything else. So I kind of did it on my own time and made the benches on top of Manhattan Hill, and there are pictures right there to pass along. So I kind of overbooked myself for a little while, and
Not allowed to do it again.
Do you guys have any challenges that the board needs to know about, like equipment or?
we had a very generous donation at the beginning of this year, and then we had one today. We have a guy from Topeka that's gonna donate a shear, a mill working shear that can go 10 feet and cut 1/4 inch, and then a sheet mill brake that'll do up to 10 gauge. I think it's 5 feet to 10 feet long. I can't remember. But we're going to look at that. I'm gonna go look at that on Friday. So that's a pretty big donation because our shear ended up breaking last year. Yeah. So yeah,
What certifications can the kids get,
we're
people
gonna,
get coming out of the program?
well, they're gonna get a new one this year. We both went and did leaks training. So
Lincoln Electric.
But yeah,
yeah, NC3. So that's another credit, and then they get qualifications for basically we have what the state board like this K boards has, and then we have it to where if they want to go in, we have a CWI come in for the testing, and then if they want to do anything past that, the CWI is there and he'll be happy to test them and stamp them out on it. So they can kind of, the sky's the limit at that point. So
Okay, I didn't know,
Certification and qualification are kind of a toss up with welding
right,
compared to mechanic certification.
I didn't know if you were heading toward any type of pressure vessel certifications and
So
that type of stuff, since she talked about piping. I know a
we
lot of
both have
high energy piping requires that.
our stamp.
we would have to become an ATF facility to actually like certify.
Sure.
And that would be us having our own actual certification of the school to certify students too. We've talked about it.
In the state of Kansas.
Right.
You guys don't need anything?
Oh,
How's the ventilation system working?
sure.
You can see across the shop now.
You can breathe.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Helpful.
You don't cough up black smoke. and-
We have to warn visiting groups if they have a toupee to hang on.
It's like you have middle grindings on the table and you sweep them off. It's just you can hit the floor, it goes straight up. It's pretty neat.
Wow.
Yeah, you can go over there if you want to check it out.
Yeah, it's called a margarita mixer when we first got there. That's nice though.
You guys have made improvements to the booths and the
Yeah.
shop too.
Yeah, we took out all the booths the week of in service, and then we've been redoing them. Before, you could only go down like about like that high initially. So like a new student coming in trying to weld and starting off on an uncomfortable position is very difficult. So we have stands that are removable and they go all the way to the floor and then all the way up. And then you can always remove them out and have different arms and tables, and it's a lot more convenient for the students and even for us teaching. So anything else?
Oh, the training is nationwide recognized through in
Lincoln.
if they went to Electric.
NC3, right?
NC3, yeah. It's basically so everybody's on the same grading, like the same rubric when grading a weld. So, and it's an,
School to school, company to company.
yeah.
Are most of our grads staying in the area? We don't.
They go all over building, they go all over.
They may be here for a year and then
Yeah.
just be in a different state.
Yeah. Are our wages in the state, you guys know, comparable to other places
It's
in the
lower,
nation? Lower.
lower than most, yeah.
So they get that year of experience and then go try to chase the money.
And we added a new guy, new member on our packet board is Great Plains. And we're gonna be touring, we're gonna take a tour to their facility in Abilene and then Landau and Caterpillar. So we try to make a day out of each of those and kind of space it out for the next semester. And then, I mean, they had they would have hired every single one of the students last year, Caterpillar and Landau. Landau said and then they ended up marking up their wages right before that, and they give their employees a 4% extra increase every week if they show up every day on time.
Wow.
Just to show up on time.
They actually interviewed one of your students.
They took one of my students took a test right there, right then and there.
Just because I'm approving payroll doesn't mean I'm adding.
Like, that's a bonus.
We could do
That
the
says a
opposite
lot.
approach.
Yeah.
You know, just that people aren't coming to work or don't want to work. You got to put those incentives out there to get them just to show up on time.
Work ethic is.
Big deal.
Just.
Put it on your fridge.
He's already got some.
No, hang on, we'll send them to Mike.
Yeah.
So the board member can see them.
Send it back down to him.
You mentioned you go down to Oklahoma. Do you go up into Nebraska at all?
Yeah, but we would.
Yeah, he's went to his hometown, I went to mine. If we have a student that comes on a visit, I usually just say, if you're ever interested, I'll bring a welder, I'll bring a multi-process machine, and I'll talk to the class, and then, you know, if they're wanting me to help them weld, or they want to see a demo, I just kind of let them pick what they want to see, and they usually just let me do whatever, and I just go in there and weld with them, and it's pretty fun and pretty interesting. I mean, I had, like at Rock Creek, I had the teacher, he was wrapping up and had to go on a bus route, and we were still in there when he came back welding. So, I mean, it was fun to build that communication, and, you know, and then they always ask questions. They might, you know, ask questions and send you emails, or they have a question on a project or something and keep in contact with you. So I think that kind of helps our numbers overall. So.
It's great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. Storm damage next.
Sure you don't want piece of pizza, Thomas?
So the windstorm right before Thanksgiving,
Christmas,
whenever that was.
December 15th. I don't remember well.
Yeah. The good news is about an hour or so before it hit, our classes in 411 and 412 were done. People were out of there. Both roofs, about half of each roof kind of flopped around in the wind. We also had some water come into the front foyer area again. Some other minor things, yeah. On the roofs, so right away, Charleston Wilson, our insurance agent, Josh worked with them. Our agents here in town have been fantastic. I'll let him fill in the details.
So as Jim said, the main damage was in 411 and 412. So we started working with the agent right off the bat, and the first thing they needed from us was to get a reputable contractor in here to give us a quote. One of those quotes we finally did get back, and it's not high enough to activate a claim with our insurance. The way our policy is currently written is we have to, technically it's a $100,000 deductible. However, then there's a $90,000 deductible buyback policy. So the issue with that, so it's we're on the hook for the 10K deductible in the end when things are said and done. But if you don't hit 100K worth of damage, then it would not activate the claim. So the first quote we got back, we're still waiting on another one, is right at 23K for complete fix and replacement with a 2-year leak warranty for both of those roofs. They're temporarily safe. We've been working with Diamond Roofing in town to get them in a place where they're at least temporary fixed and structurally stable. However, we're still fighting leaks. They're just about impossible to get those leaks completely stopped without the work that they're recommended doing. But we are still waiting on another quote back from another contractor as well, so we have some comparables.
The 411 and 412 are the two on the end that we got from Fort Riley. You know, while we've had some weather since then, we haven't had anything super significant. And our concern is if we get a major snowstorm, ice storm, wind. So we've all talked because all of these modulars in our long-range plans disappear. But when does that happen? And sure as shooting, if we go ahead and repair those roofs, something good will happen. But we'll take that. I think we have to take that issue because we have an investment of furniture, equipment, and people in those buildings. The current estimate we have is under the $25,000 threshold we have on board policy, where I need your approval, but I wanted just to share this with you. But right now, we'd probably be leaning toward going and doing those repairs. One of the things we've talked about, and Brett, we definitely could use your input. If we get funds and we start looking at, we can get rid of some of these modulars, is it worth looking at? Do we try to salvage any of these and move it somewhere else on campus to use or not? Heather says no. And that's fine. That may be, most of our crew is ready for this big s'mores and bonfire party. But we need to consider it just to make sure, because if if there's somewhere else we could put them and use them, fine, but it may not be, but we're a long way from that. The other thing on the foyer, we have worked with the company that did the roof on the main building, and we're getting information from them to add a downspout that's not up near the entrance to the building, to widen the gutters up in that area. The thing with the new roof is the water comes off there like a banshee. And when we've had those heavy rains and the wind, the current drain system cannot keep up. And over the years, that building has settled toward those doors. So in meeting with facilities today, I said the first thing is nothing up there is holy. If we have to look at other changes, we've got to figure out stopping that water from coming into the front entrance. And it's come into the office area several times. So we're working again with ALERT on what we can do with bigger gutters, another downspouts, some changes underneath the ground where we have drainage to go to even bigger tube. But we may also look at some other changes out front. I don't know, Heather, if you have any ideas you might share with us.
We'll look when I leave tonight.
Come back in daylight sometime. And again, we had 3 or 4 of those this last year. We hadn't had any issues prior to that, but who knows? But again, we want to try to fix it so we can take care of the facilities. The current estimate for that project, again, is less than $25K. Those are things that all bleed capital outlay, but yet at the same time, we kind of have to fix those things. So that's updates on those 2 major projects outside of finishing Wamego. Josh, can you give an update on building 2 at Wamego?
Yeah, so building 2, I would say is like 98% complete. We're waiting on a couple of countertops to finish up the science classroom that should be shipping this week. And once those are there and installed, the construction is completed. It'll then be time to start looking more toward outfitting with furniture. Something else we just completed over there. It's difficult with that being a remote location from our main campus where our staff are usually at, is something we've always worried about, is making sure it gets locked up and secured correctly when employees leave, and then gets opened up in the morning and things. So we did go ahead and get the key access system like we have on some of our doors on main campus installed. So we have a computer remote control to make sure everything's locked and unlocked correctly, as well as employees have the ability to badge in and badge out to unlock those doors. And that all gets logged then in a system so we can tell who's going in and out of there, since it is not staffed quite as often, although that's gotten better now that Suzanne's over there pretty much full time. So but yeah, the classrooms, I'm sure pretty soon we'll be able to start showing people around over there. They look great. They're really pretty impressive when you get in there. It looks a lot bigger than it does from all the plans we've been looking at once you finally get in there. So you'll have to check it out.
I would suggest for your consideration, we might look at doing a board meeting this spring over from there. People can see it.
Yeah.
How many people do we have on campus over there? What is going on with your eyebrows?
Got the help too.
Well,
Yeah, it's his filter behind him.
It's your filters causing it.
Do I have like,
His eyebrows. I just teamed
them.
It's okay.
That's what, you got me worried now. I'm gonna shut my camera off, figure out.
It's
No,
when
I-
you turn your head toward the side, Josh.
Yeah. My daughter gets on here and plays around, so that's probably.
It's okay, your eyeliner is not running, you're looking good.
I started to ask before we got distracted. How many people do we have on campus over there during the day?
Working, we have one full-time person, and then we have classes that are going on every day. So we have 3 instructors that are teaching there right now.
Okay.
And then we have other staff or mostly staff.
Yeah.
Depending on what's going on over
Staggering and
there.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I know we have security here, so my question is, when we have limited individuals there, do we? have-
Doors.
That's why we put in the.
That's why the doors are
Let me,
for the security.
Yeah.
So let me speak to that. So we are, I was kind of working with Suzanne. I've been over there a lot this last week and got to kind of see how things actually work because I was working with the key access system. And what we're going to, she considered a computer, and we're actually keeping all the doors locked full time. She has the ability, then she has camera access at every single entrance and can see who's trying to come in the door. And then she can click a little button on her computer to buzz those people in or out. So she has pretty good control that way to kind of see who's trying to enter. So actually none of the doors are unlocked during business hours at all right now. And then hopefully in the long term, as we're adding more of these doors on main campus and our students get a little ID badge, those actually have a little chip in those that we can also grant them access to buzz in as well. So hopefully that's the long-term solution.
Yeah, I just, I'm thinking it was ridiculous.
We also have cameras scattered throughout the Wamego campus like we do here in hallways and other key areas. So
Yeah,
our security officer here can monitor those cameras as well. So it's
yeah. When you said Suzanne,
right.
and my first thought, if we have an individual employee going to or from the building,
Right.
Think things could happen, just.
We know is that as we grow enrollment over there, we'll be adding more
Yeah.
of those features.
Yeah.
More people.
We'll be adding more people.
Thanks.
Anything else on any facilities? I think we've covered it.
The water damage, did it make it into the office again this time?
Yes.
Is it seeping through the walls or seeping through the
It's-
window?
Comes to the front
Come through
door.
the
Oh,
doors.
it comes to the front
Doors
door.
that run through the office.
Wow.
So
It's like it's just shooting over the gutters.
yeah, we know after we get
Roof so
it
bad.
fixed in the staff area, we'll have to replace carpet.
Mhm.
And when we do that, we'll look at carpet with carpet tiles.
Oh, no.
There was some damage to, of course, walls, carpet, et cetera, in 411 more than 412. I have to say the people that were here, the staff that were here when that windstorm hit after it passed through, did a hell of a job on everything, on moving the water out in the front office, on getting over to 411 and 412, moving equipment, furniture. It was fantastic work by a lot of our staff. I had been in Topeka. I got back in time to come check a little bit of that out, but it was amazing. They over in 411, they moved a couple of those big screen TVs away from where the holes in the roof were to safeguard them. Again, our insurance company, they contacted Diamond right away. Diamond was here the next day, I believe, already starting to work on patches. Again, great service. And, I said the most important thing is we didn't have anybody get hurt. That's what matters.
When we have something like that, if we have people in the outside buildings, they all go into.
Right, he issued a storm warning that day to get people to take cover.
Okay. Yeah, luckily
We don't have a good place to put people,
Yeah,
which we're gonna talk about after this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, Josh.
he's up again, right?
Yep, policy.
Yeah, so this policy update doesn't need board action or anything, but it was just a policy that Nathan and I and the facilities guys worked on to kind of update and clean up. Kind of the bigger things is the facilities and the maintenance ticketing system process. So kind of how we handle facility and maintenance requests need addressed. The updated custodial contract information we added in there. Work request prioritization. So how we kind of triage work requests and what's a high priority compared to medium and low. And then we added in some limitations of the use of our campus property or some of the highlights, but you can read through there. And I don't believe it needs action or anything, but it's just something we wanted to provide you an update with.
No action needed on that. Any other discussion? Any questions?
Hannah, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt but I think I accidentally muted you guys. There you go.
All right, good.
He said he did it.
Chris Boxberger, take two.
So adult education is the umbrella for our GED high school diploma program and also our English as a second language program. Yes. We originally came over from the school district in 2018. And last fall, we've had a change up at K-Board. They're kind of our governing body for the adult ed. And we got new directors in who actually care, are involved. Sorry, I know this is recorded and I tell that to them anyways. But they have actually put in an effort in showing an interest in our program and our performance. And actually, this is the first time in almost 6 years that I have gotten an email that says, congratulations are in order. Of the 5 metrics that they measure us on, MATC's adult education program is currently outperforming the state in 4 of them. One of the different areas, we have educational gains. So through our testing, we also have our measurable skill gains. That's by far our largest improvement. This is students who make a gain throughout the program who enroll in post-secondary education and those who get a job or get a better job. And we measure that with follow-ups. And we are currently at 54%. 54.39%. The state is currently at 44%, and our target this year was 48%. So we are continuing. We just brought in several new students this semester, so we're looking to continue and improve those numbers. And then the last one that I'll share for this is our passing rate for our GE exams. This is a number of our current students testing versus the students who have passed. Our target, my personal target, the state doesn't really measure this anymore, but I do. I want 75% gains at least, of students passing. And we're currently sitting at 76.9. So I feel very good about that. The state currently is at 66%. So the state, 66% are passing the GPs. The last update for adult ed, I sit with the MARC program, the Manhattan Afghan Resettlement Team. This is for all the refugees that have come over from Afghanistan. And we have started a specific class for our Afghan refugees in the area. We currently have 3 families that have moved in recently. And all the adults of those families are currently taking classes with us through our ESL program. I have 14 individuals from 3 families. And I'm currently working with a representative at K-State who is kind of their caseworker with all this. So it's a good partnership. Some students are very low. They want to start with ABCs. And I do have some students that are actually very articulate. And we're going to move them in. Our goal is to take them and start them and help with our culture and then move them throughout our ESL program to the point where they're ready to either enroll in METC or go off and find a job in the community, become a consumer. Any question?
You mentioned 4 out of the 5 areas. What was the one?
No, that's perfect one. And I can send this all to you. I apologize. This was a last minute thing that we didn't get onto the board packet. So the one that we're below the state right now is our ratio of participants to learners. So students who submit an application are called participants, are learners. And then students who actually come to my orientations and do 12 hours of instruction are considered learners. And so my ratio right now is at 52%. So students have submitted applications, but they just haven't come to an orientation, where the state is currently sitting at 79%. I have differing opinions of why that is, and I would be happy to share that privately if.
All right.
What a lot of people in our communities don't realize is the level of poverty, illiteracy, the number of people that did not complete high school. You know, you're surrounded with a university, a lot of good companies, different things. You don't think about that. I'm amazed every year when I see the school district's number of students that are homeless, foster care, free and reduced school lunch. Because most of us tend to think our perception is this is a fairly middle income area, but it's got some bigger issues than we usually see.
So is that a metric then we're not really that concerned about because it doesn't really tell you anything? Or is that something that you look for ideas on how to capture those learners?
That's great. It does not affect our funding, which is obviously important with the state. It's more of them just letting me know, hey, that number exists.
Anybody can go and submit an application, like I could go submit an application with no intention of ever, okay.
And I report all my applications to the state. I am not 100% sure that a lot of their programs do the same. And so, yes, since my time at MATC, that number has gotten a lot better. I could go back probably in the old program and find what that true ratio was for some of the other stuff. But I focus very heavily on it. Whenever a student submits an application, they get several forms of communication via email. We send my administrative assistant also calls and tries to make contact with them. And before our orientation, tries to get everyone set up. We do a lot of things. I even get people on the phone. Yeah, I'm coming. And then they don't come. A good example would be this last one. I had 8 ESL students signed up for the first day of ESL orientation, and I had 2 come.
Also, the last 2 years, if they are serious about going to work, there's plenty of jobs out there. So there's been less of a need for them to get the GED if they're serious about a job.
Yes.
A lot of factors. Good stuff. Okay.
Thanks, Chris, really appreciate it. And foundation, Harry's up.
Harry and me. Hannah, you want to put that on the screen? Yesterday, we had a meeting of the trustees. We didn't have a quorum, but we had a few of the trustees share with you the packet.
Bottom right. Bottom right.
See it?
sure.
Oh, look, now I can. My bad.
Sarah's hand was in.
Yeah, that's right. Good. I'm gonna want to say it out loud.
Okay, down a little. So Harry and I and Sarah met with them. We did have Jared, Ryan Coonrod from Burnett, Marla from the Community Foundation, Kate Dover from Evergy. There you see on number 3, you'll see updates. We handed out $23,000 in fall scholarships from the foundation. You see the current status of the bank accounts at the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation. Most of those are endowed funds and what we can spend. Item C under 3, you see the current status of the foundation bank accounts. And again, the large number in savings is the CAT donation and other things related to Wamego in particular. Then we gave everybody an update on our increase in enrollment, early college increase, the pandemic funds, and things that we talked about earlier with maintenance of efforts, those projects. Gave them an overview on facilities. Okay, scroll on down. Legislative stuff, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then let's pause on that one for a moment. We've worked with BVN, as you know, with our work in Wamego with some of the items here. And they're developing a master plan for us. And we got some of this information a few weeks ago, and Harry and I have been kind of test driving it with some different groups. We've shared some of this with Wayne Sloan and Stacy Kohlmeyer, who are on the executive business industry leadership team about the Career Academy project. I shared it with Kristen Brighton the other day to give her an update. We shared it with the foundation folks. I'm sharing it Friday with Marvin Wade, the school superintendent. So again, an aerial of our current campus. And again, we have the smallest facility footprint of any, I think about of any college in the state, much less Tech College. We have about 88,000 square feet of space here. The next smallest, to my knowledge, as far as the tech colleges, is Flint Hills Tech in Emporia. They have about 160,000, so about twice as much. Let's go down to the next one, please. Doing some imagining, BBN came up with some great ideas to expand our space. You see there in the dark gray and the lighter gray on the right, toward the right side, you pull out the mods and there's space there for 1 to 2 prefab steel buildings like what Manhattan Christian did with their activity center. Those would be very open, high roof facilities to encompass big lab things. What would go in there? You know, we haven't set it in stone. We could have construction trades, HVAC. We want to put in plumbing. We could have electric power and distribution. We could look at things related to advanced manufacturing, other things. As prefab steel, the cost is a little lower, and we have utilities there already. You could drive the way they have that drawn out. You could drive behind the facilities. We have big bay doors behind. So again, you could bring in large equipment, et cetera. About estimate about between 5 to 5.5 million per section of that building, about 11 million total. If we did that, again, you could relocate some programs there. Moving HVAC out would give the building on the top of that lighter gray area. We could expand welding even more. And the construction trades building at the top of the map would become our new maintenance building, which we desperately need. You see on the main building, not much change there other than we would have a bonfire with the former dental hygiene regional testing center facility because we've moved it into a new facility. But again, you know, we have the utilities over there, so that makes it possible to do some things. And then the big thing was they proposed we build into the hill on the corner of Reith and Dickens. They originally proposed kind of an L shape. I said, what if we made it more square? We could go up to 3 stories, these changes would give us the space we need to run the Career Academy here, or as we prefer to call it now, the College and Career Center. Okay. It picks up some parking. Again, we've already shared some of this with some of the other city and county leaders because we want to be able to use Seco Park and have them count that for some of our parking as well. Let me pause there to see about any initial reaction you have to this idea.
We own that area, right? And right up here.
Yes.
We do own that as well, so we could develop that in some way if we desired later.
You got some drainage issues from the top part all the way down over to the
North of the
right.
West Star.
Yeah, to the
Okay.
Top of there, yeah, there's some trees in there, but there's drainage issues.
Okay. It's real.
Of course, we've talked, if we build into the hill, we could take some of that dirt to build a berm / canal to help control some of those issues we have on the north side of the property. Let's go down to the next one, please. Sarah, working with Josh, Andrew, other people. These are some estimates on space. It also takes into effect what we're looking at as far as the program areas that have been identified with the College and Career Center. Just to refresh your memory, we've identified 5 centers in general where we expand programs for those options for high school students and more. One is healthcare / bioscience, biotech. The second one is IT. Another one is advanced manufacturing, construction, engineering tech. You've got advanced manufacturing. We have transportation, logistics, and warehousing. And then we'd probably start playing around with education related to the daycare issue. We would pick up, if we could add those spaces as projected, that picks up 163,000 feet of new space. I had to laugh when BBN first shared this with us because it says area of program undetermined is about 38,000 square feet of space. Trust me, we've got uses for that. Sarah and I were supposed to have gone to Dallas a couple of weeks ago at the request of General Myers to consider working with a group he has down there called Medicine that trains military veterans to run high-end medical equipment. COVID scratched that. They were shut down because of COVID, but we're still working on that. But they're interested in working with us to see if we could expand what they're doing and put a center for that up here to help Fort Riley. Again, it would be good training for those folks. It's good jobs, not that many of those jobs in our region, but it would take about that kind of space to do that. Again, these are estimates, but it does show this would increase that capacity we need for what Manhattan High wants, but also in making it regional, what we could do with more adult students, the adult ed students, other area high schools, et cetera. A reminder, the ATA bus system, all of our adult ed and college students can ride it for free. And that runs to Junction, it runs over to Wamego and Manhattan, so that helps as well. Let's go down to the next one.
Is, I know there's actually, I think, a meeting right now with the ninth grade center. at
We're gonna get to
Potential.
that.
Sorry.
No, you're good, we're gonna get to that. Here's a view with Wamego. On the left is our current property. Again, the bottom building is the admin office building, gen ed classrooms. Building 2, healthcare, science, another classroom, and then the truck bays will get renovated for auto tech. And then building 3, half for welding, half for electrician training. The top part of that area, of course, that's an upper lot, undeveloped. Right now, I'm not going to develop it. We don't have the money to do so. We do have an agreement with the church next door on the right concerning using their parking lot. That buys us some time for parking improvements as well. Picture on the right is in the industrial park. If we can get funding to put a facility there, the current owner of that land said they would give it to us if we can put in a facility to do CDL and diesel tech. We've submitted a proposal to the Sunderland Foundation of Kansas to see if we can get funding for that. The current space we have on the left side, that adds about, what did we say, 12,000 square feet of space
Yes.
to our overall count. Let's go down to the next one, Hannah. This is just another view with Wamego, kind of color coded for you to see some of the breakout. I think we're going to outgrow our space on the left side. Our current space facilities over there probably within 3 years, which is a good problem. Let's go down to the next one, please. There you see the BBN's estimate then, which includes the current Wamego campus site 1, and then if we got the funding to put in CDL and diesel. And that ramps us up to a total of 268,000 square feet of space, which would be amazing. Well, we'll see what happens. But again, this is how we'll start doing this planning. Could we fill all that space? Yes, we could. Let's go on down, please. Ninth grade center, there it is. The cutaway view.
I didn't even look ahead.
It's okay. And I'm the one to blame on this one. Thank you. I'm on it.
I think I'd be the only one to do that.
Yeah, but hey, and there is some, there's community interest in it. It does mean a lot to some people, but the building itself is a pig. We would have to own our own, we'd have to put in our own network, and that's limestone. We'd have to renovate other areas. It will not accommodate large lab programs. The school district has to keep it. It's their IT hub, but they also have plans to use, like the gymnasium they're going to keep for their intramural things and other athletic uses. The cafeteria, they've got other plans for. We suspect there's a mold issue in the building. Who knows about asbestos? And BBN's initial estimate, we'd only pick up about 60,000 square feet of space. Yes, there is some hearings on it. I will be attending the one Saturday on Zoom. And I will talk to Marvin first. Like I said, I've talked with Kristen. I'm not opposed to us examining, could we use some space there for something? Maybe. But it's not the answer to what we need. Let's go on down to the next one. That's it. Okay. Let's go back up a couple.
Yeah.
To that aerial shot where they've added the new buildings. Keep going. There. As we've driven this to people, and Harry and Sarah and I met last week or a couple of weeks ago, with Vern Hendricks, Jason and Darren from the chamber, with Representative Highland and his wife, Representative Carlin. showed this to Wayne and Stacy, they're like, yeah, this makes sense. If you want a project like this to move as quick as it can, this is the only place we can do it because we own the property's ours, it's zoned for it. We have the least amount of governance in the way. And as Kristen said, we can't wait 5 to 10 years to make this happen. Okay,
Sorry, it's zoned for the 3 stories also.
I'm not sure of that. We're zoned for education. When we did the substation thing with Evergy, the zoning commission told us pretty much can do whatever you want.
We already know we can put 3 stories there. Okay, we've already checked with the state, that's already done.
Part of what we've been discussing as we talk with these groups and get feedback is as we redo the story to push this, part of our story has got to be, what's the impact if we don't do this? If this doesn't happen, what's the impact in our communities? Because one, a lot of people have a perception we haven't done anything with the high school. Wrong. We've done huge things. This expands that. We currently have about 400 a semester from Manhattan High. The goal is to get that in the 750 to 1,000 range. You add in Wamego, where we hope to get 200 to 300. We've doubled our enrollment. But the impact, because 75% or more of our graduates stay in this area, what we're training them for are the high wage, high demand, essential, critical need jobs in this region. If this doesn't happen, what's the impact on what this area wants to do economically? Now, I'm going to be very candid. If we aren't addressing Erie County, Junction City, but we've tried. We also get students from over there coming here. Just like we get students from Wamego area, Rock Creek coming here. This is doable. Price tag, estimate,
Sounds like.
35, 40 million. Now, the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, strategic planning group, top 2 priorities, daycare and the career academy. And to fund anything like this, it's going to take multiple partners, projects, et cetera. So we're working with BBN. How do we do this? And how do we stage this? How do we do it in phases? This is a document I've improved and I have to get it back to Wichita Tech tomorrow, but the grant writer at Wichita Tech is working for all the tech colleges to submit a proposal to the state SPARK committee, again, requested by Senator Masterson. What can you do with the tech colleges if we invest in you? What can you do with advanced manufacturing and IT? Our part of this isn't huge, but it would fund half of one of those prefab steel buildings. We could either do the bottom part or the top part. I've had emails today with, I haven't even got a chance to talk to Harry today, but Jason with the chamber and I have been going back and forth because he's playing with some budget figures to put in their request. There are still some HERF and CARES monies available from city and county as well. Probably looking at the other part of that. The kicker is that 3-story building would probably have to be in stages. This is doable. And the return on the investment would be huge. Twofold. One, we'd have to add more employees, more payroll, that's more consumer power in this area. But then again, we're looking at doubling our enrollment and the impact of those students staying in this region, working, paying taxes, buying houses and cars. Let me pause to get comments, questions, because again, we're test driving this, doesn't make sense.
So with this being the career center or career academy, is it possible we can get tax dollars now? Maybe.
Maybe, but I don't want taxing authority. We want support from public entities. And I've raised that with both the city and county commissioners and city management, and they've all said, yeah, we've got to figure out something.
How many hands are in the career academy? Like us, USD 383, correct?
Yeah.
K-State to some level.
There's room for K-State. We've started very limited discussions. They've indicated again over the last couple of months, trying to work with us more. I'm still waiting for that to happen, but part of it, again, the pandemic slows things down. The talks I've had with General Myers, the provost and new VP for research, and he's real interested. They're very interested in what we can do related to biotech, bioscience, and biomanufacturing. Some of you have probably heard about a project that is secret, but Manhattan is one of 2 finalists in the nation for a major project related to bioscience. You know, I've heard from people that are in the know that, dude, if this happens, we got to figure out how to help MATC. So again, there's a lot of pieces blowing in the wind. Are they going to settle our way? The governor's budget proposal for higher ed has increases in every area. Are they huge increases? No, but the proposal, and so far no one in the legislature is going, hell no, includes more funding for us in tiered and non-tiered funding in the Excel and CTE category with the high schools and in capital outlay. But at the same time, we're still hitting them about our tax credit bill and about more maintenance of effort funds.
I was just asking from if it's going on MATC's property, you have some big, as you were saying, governing authorities, tax bases that are now,
They're not on the hook for anything yet, but that's why I've been talking to them.
Sure.
Everybody's getting the benefit of us without skin in the game.
Exactly.
So on those same lines, that help having the buy-in from governments, the extra federal funds, is that same probability being looked at for the additions that we were contemplating for the Wamego camp?
Yeah. And again, a key part of this is the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation. Of course, Wamego is an affiliate. Part of the dance, and I think Harry's still on. Part of the dance with all this, Harry and I are both frustrated because everybody said, yeah, this is great, but you need this and this, and you need to get so and so for, well, people, put up or shut up time. You know, and that's what I was hearing from a lot of people that were on that trip to Lincoln a couple of years ago that saw their career academy, and they came back here and said, it's time, it's put up or shut up time. Yeah, it is. And yeah, that estimate I just told you is a big dollar amount, but it's less than the K-State capital campaign or a bond issue for any of the school districts.
True.
And the return of the investment on those facilities and what we can do is about as fast as anything can happen in this world. So what we're working on right now is how do we put together a better story and work with BBN to show how we can stage this, but here's what this impact is. But again, a part of that story is going to be, if this doesn't happen, here's the impact.
Our internal marketing team is working on a similar concept to what K-State does when they're going after a capital campaign, you know, creating that image of the what if, what could this look like? What are you invested in? The probability of all those things, to kind of similar to Harry's talked a lot about when they were putting the mall in, you know, something tangible, you know, giving that concept. And so the marketing team here is we've had discussions, we've got ideas in place, and we're working on how do we go about doing that.
One of the things that your seat is this document. This came out today from Georgetown University. For those of you that have been on the board a little while, a couple of years ago, they released their first analysis on a look nationally at return on investment in higher ed. This is a new analysis, newer data, but it looks just at the impact on low-income students who get Pell Grants. Here's the ranking for Kansas public colleges and universities in the net present value of your earnings over 40 years. You want proof? Here's proof. No one's in the state better than us except KU and K-State among the public institutions. Now, they included a lot of private and for-profit in that study. I want to tell you funny. You look down there at the bottom 4 community colleges on the list, when you add in the private and public or private and for-profit entities, Bellis Academy finishes ahead of those bottom 4 community colleges. I wish I could figure out a good way to market that. You know, and again, I'm frustrated because I've been hammering this kind of information, and we are in better position than we've been in the past. But what more proof do you need about our impact? Over 75% of our graduates stay, and this is what we're doing. They're filling the jobs. This investment in the long haul is not huge. So, you know, again, as you think, if you've got ideas on how do we sell this, what are we missing? I understand, you know, while the economy's been good through the pandemic, people are still scared. Banks have tons of money, but and if we can pull up the collaboration with K-State, I think this will get even more traction. If people see that combination. Budget stop. Harry, what else would you like to add?
Well, I just think that, you know, there's a lot of relationship building going on in our community as well as in Wamego. And, you know, in my 40 years of doing professional work, I've never, you know, been involved with a project that has very few negatives. I mean, everybody gets this and everybody understands that knowledge-based education, skill-based education, and right here in Manhattan, we have a unique opportunity to pull the kids through the high schools that will really create and double our enrollment on the campus. I think one of the deals that needs to play out, and we're working on that, is the final drawings that BBN will produce for us, an entire master plan that shows a lot of visuals, 3D kinds of visuals. We saw some of that earlier that they've done with the very first building that'll be on the east side of the campus, so that people can begin to see what this space looks like and what kind of educational activities will be going on in each one of those buildings. And I think once we have that and we're able to begin the process of marketing that, working with the marketing people at the college, I think we'll get moving. You know, we've really not had the opportunity to sit down with Vern in a real, discussion about what this all looks like. He was at our meeting. He has told us in the past that he believes that there are resources available to do this project. I believe they are. I think once we get the whole package put together and we have the story to tell, then I think we can sit down with Vern and see whether or not there are resources available through the foundation or through individuals in the community that would be willing to underwrite this kind of venture. So I think the pieces are in place. It's just a matter of now getting, you know, the marketing plan finished and finalized, and then we'll just take it on the road. I tell people, and Sarah just briefly mentioned that when I was doing economic development work for the city and the chamber, prior to the mall, north and south additions, you know, there was a lot of industry there that people didn't know what to do with it. And so we engaged Brent Bowman and BBN to draw up some plans of what it would look like north and south of the mall. And once we did that, people got it. And I think that's where we're at with this project. I think we're real close to getting these final drawings and 3D depictions of what we want to accomplish. And I think we'll get this thing done. I don't think it's all going to happen once. I think we'll have to segment this process. And as we grow it and we get more, you know, students come into the program, you know, we'll be able to tell those stories. And I think we'll be able to do some really spectacular things on this campus. I really do believe that.
So, and also, you've all got copies of the annual report if you want some extras there here. We're chasing every opportunity we can. Except that one. All good stuff. I've been in legislative meetings for the last 5 days. And I was really worried about this legislative session. I probably I'm still worried, but it's been more positive about higher ed, and especially about tech ed. The only segment of higher ed in the state that's growing enrollment the last 5 years is tech ed. So you know, I think if we could get lucky with that Spark request and some other things, and we start with one of those buildings, take out some of these mods, we put something new like that, that gets the ball rolling. Please don't hesitate to give me ideas, your questions, concerns as we put this together, because it's got to be something you can. Okay. Next is talking about Dave Fritchen. So Dave called me a few weeks ago. Shaky. He has stage 3 kidney disease and Parkinson's. And he said, Jim, I'm already down to only about 40% of doing what I used to do. So he says, I need to get off the board right now. And none of us can say enough about Dave and what he's done, not just for the college, I mean, with K-State, with the community, but for us in particular. He's been fantastic. So I talked a little bit with Sarah and then with LJ, trying to get around, you know, I think we need to do something to honor him. And I'd like to figure out something that we can tell him before he's not here. We've kicked around ideas, you know, do we look at a possible room or something in the future, but then we kind of hit with, what if we could identify the outstanding graduating student each year and they receive the David L. Fritchen Outstanding Graduating Student Award. Kind of just want to throw that out to see what you think. We don't have any parameters on it. We don't have to do with that, or if you have other ideas, but
We already work with and identify the students under the National Technical Honor Society. We figured from those students that are already been identified from the programs and the instructors based on outstanding students, we could potentially use those students as a pool to bring to the board, and then you guys could decide.
or if you have other ideas, and we don't have to make a decision tonight, but man, I'd like to do something that we could let him know.
Into May.
I mean, we've had the conversation. I'm fully behind the recognition for Dave for the outstanding student. And like Jim just mentioned, and developing the parameters is what we really need to get our arms wrapped around. But I think the sooner we can do it, the better. Dave deserves it. I mean, he and I joined the board at the same time. I'm devastated to hear the news about his health. I mean, you think about Dave Fritchen, he's just a good dude. And I mean, it's as simple as I can put it, and whatever we can do to, you know, give him his flowers while he's still here, I think it's important.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I know his passion was the building trades.
Mhm.
And he has put together a scholarship, he and his wife, in that area. But again, I think everything he exemplifies in his life and career is what we want our students to try to copy. So we will develop some parameters and share that with you.
If his passion was the building trade, is there any merit to just tying it to a student from the building trades instead of all, I mean, I'm probably the worst one to say anything, but
Right now, the PAC, the Built Group, already recognizes the top 3 students within the program each year with power tools, very, very expensive power tools. That is something the Built team has put in place, and I don't want to devalue that in any way. And I think doing something that is more towards technical education in general, because he was very supportive of the college
Oh, yeah.
fully, is going to put more value to this.
He's had a lot of input, like with the critical environment tech program. the industrial
Yeah, it's been across the
engineering.
board. The institution overall, he's come in and helped in a lot of ways.
Right. One of the things, when we start looking at parameters and everything, I mean, we could all kind of kick around, you know, adjectives to describe Dave, you know, humble, sticks up in my mind, intelligent, passionate. I mean, you could go on and on about him if there's a way to capture that in a rounded student, not just academics, but that student that is a quiet leader. I mean, all those things that they inspire people. That's what I think about when I think about Dave. I mean, he's just, you know, he didn't say a whole lot.
Yeah, because it may not be the best academic student, but are they involved in something with the community, church, whatever, that leadership?
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
He, you know, we'd call on him on occasion, just kind of warning together. We'd give him a call to say, hey, we're having a problem with such and such with the facility or whatever. You know, he'd give out a Brett too, you know. That's how we pay you. You get to come give us advice.
I don't get paid very much, apparently.
Pizza.
He was my department head when I went through K-State. And the stories that that guy has on the jobs that he worked on, I mean, are.
Well, in his career in the Seabees,
You're talking about something like this. I mean, he built naval bases in
Yeah.
the South Pacific. That's what he did, some cool stuff.
but he was also a very passionate advocate for this institution the last several years, even before he got on the board. So we'll put something together and get it. Like I said, I'd like for us to be able to tell him soon. Thank you.
We just gotta get my mind went bad there.
I don't think we have a faculty senate update. We've already hit facilities. Legislation, like I said, so far, everything's percolating through. Like I said, as soon as we get the audit information, we'll let you know so we can get that information to you and schedule a special meeting by Zoom. So we can accept that, hopefully accept that audit and not wait until February 22nd. And one last thing, February 19th, Saturday before our next board meeting, pancake feed here from 7 to 11, $5 all you can eat, benefit Skills USA. So, sausage, pancakes, coffee and juice. Yes. EMT is needing patients that day for all sorts of practice.
All right, if we don't have anything else, upcoming meetings. February 22nd is the next meeting. Questions, issues, discussion before we adjourn? We need a motion. No? All right, I declare us adjourned.